Well, here we are back at Winfield Furnace. Did a video of this one earlier in the spring, and unfortunately the undergrowth was so thick that you couldn't get to it. So what I decided to do, it's like December 19th here in Pittsburgh, so I figured I'd come back and try to film this with a little less vegetation. So here we are with a better view of the furnace. We'll get up on this pile of slag. We'll be able to see a little more up here. So these furnaces are all over the Northeast, mainly Pennsylvania. This is how the frontier got started, with this all cast iron. So what you needed for the furnace, you needed trees. This is a charcoal furnace, I'll have to figure that out. You need a stream, you need water. Water would have run the paddle wheel. The paddle wheel would have run the bellows, which would have blown air on this blast furnace. So you have charcoal, you have water to blow, or water for the blower. You would need iron ore. So there's iron ore in the hills. You can see carvots. So I mean, they would have just mined all of the iron ore from this. Limestone is a slag. They would have lined this furnace. This is sandstone. They would have lined the furnace with refractory brick, and they would have just started stacking charcoal, layers of iron ore, limestone, charcoal, would lit it on fire, and the smoke would just go, I mean, you'd be able to see it for miles. All these trees, you know, you see trees and they're, 15 years, 10, 15 years. You don't see any trees that are really that old. This would have all been clear cut. Every tree would have been gone. There's some pictures that Penn State put out of some of the furnaces, and it shows just as far as you can see, just a horizon, just all the trees are gone. A lot of people had a problem with it back then, and they weren't into the environment as much as we are now. Let's get a little closer. You need a hillside or some sort of ramp. These things weren't loaded from the bottom, they were loaded from the top. So there'd be a ramp up here, charging ramp, and they would bring the charcoal, the iron ore. This would have had a roof on it, and it would have been really nice in the day. There would have been a roof over here. On the other side there would have been a roof, and the bellows probably on the other side of the furnace. We'll walk around the other side of the furnace. That's where they would blow air into it. So basically get the scraps or any of the iron ore, they would take it up, dump it inside, keep putting layers and layers and layers and layers on, and just again flumes and flumes, massive smoke and fire would come out of this. So this is not in bad shape. Again, it would have been squared off at the top. Each one of these is different. You can see there's a little step there. Not all the furnaces were constructed. It's not like these came out of a kit. I mean, these were all done by stonemasons, stone cutters, and it would have been at some considerable cost. I mean, these things weren't cheap. It would have been somebody who was very rich, a doctor or something like that, who had money. I think pretty much the rest of the stuff you can see from the spring, the tonnage and things like that. This is just a better view. We'll walk around the other side and get a better view of it. I mean, at least now we can get in and see. I'm not sure I'd want to go inside. It looks like a lot of stones are caving. Sometimes you'll see some steel mantle going across holding these bricks. Other places it's just stack block like this. And that's all this is. This is stack block. I mean, they cut these. The inside would have been a cylinder shape with refractory. That's where they would have melted the cast iron. Can't see it because of the trees, but this is where they would have tapped the cast iron. The cast iron would basically just pull a plug. The cast iron would run down into the ground and on off in different sections here. And then they would break it off, cut it off, and load it onto the train, load it onto a stream, I guess before the trains, and take it downstream. It's really sad. Eventually this is going to fall down in disrepair. The trees and the growth get in here and destroy it. This is pretty nice. Try to climb inside there and get a picture of that. Alright, well here we are inside. You have to be very careful in here because these stones, again, there's nothing holding these. I probably wouldn't do this in the summer, but you can see how just everything is stacked together. Again, it would have been lined with refractory, and then they would have just filled dirt in everywhere else. So there's where the air would have come in. Would have been charged from the top. It's bad there's no samples of any cast iron here. I guess they took all that away. Although it would have been something nice to see, I really thought that I would have wanted to work here. It's probably very hard work for people. The side's still in pretty good shape. And I believe this is where the bellows would be. See a nice little mantle on top of that. Really, that's a nice job that they did this. They would have had a bellows, and the water would have come around and, you know, move forward like a Ferris wheel, and there would have been a blower on it, and the blower would just move the bellows up and down and blow air in here. That air would really excite the fire, provide oxygen. That would raise the temperature. That would melt the cast iron. So this isn't something you would normally run into. You see how dangerous this is. You look at these stones. How they put this together is amazing. I've actually seen them move these, not seen it, but I've seen where they've taken these down and actually moved them to a different location. They would have gone through and relined the furnace every once in a while. So that's the second part of the Winfield. We'll try to put that together, see the contrast between the spring and in the fall. It's nice to do it in the fall when there's no vegetation, no animals. So here's an interesting piece. You just kind of walk right past it. You can see these holes in here. This is a piece of slag that would have come out of the furnace. So this is actually would have molten like lava, and with the air blowing into it, that's where you get these pockets. So the limestone, I mean, just basically slag. Sometimes you see this more as a glass. This is a byproduct. So you figure if you're putting all that coal and coke in, you have to put that stuff somewhere. So you'll see the slag just scattered everywhere. Look for some other pieces here. Nice again to see some chunks of cast iron. So here's a much better piece. Look how there's blowholes in here. Very cool piece. Again, not worth anything, but you can just see. I mean, you can see the sun reflecting off it a little bit. Not sure if you can see that, but it's almost like a glass. And I think that is part of the fire brick. Nose around a little bit more. Maybe take one more picture of it. And you can see the stream, and may walk down to the stream. And it's pretty fast running water right now. Here's the stream. I guess with the rain and stuff, this is running at a pretty good clip. You can see here the undercut. So once it gets to be that high, it must get that high actually. And it'll come in and it'll just erode all of this. I would suspect that a lot of this is the slag. Go down and take a quick look at that. You can see just an abundance of rocks. That's why this is such a great place for these things. I mean, there's rocks across the stream. Big rocks for the stone cutters to do what they needed to do. Again, abundance of wood. I'll take a look back at the furnace again. And you really can't even see it from all the undergrowth. Maybe that's a good thing. More people come in here, maybe they'll damage and steal stuff and deface it. This one's kind of pretty well protected. So I'll show you, I'll put a link in there at the GPS coordinates if you want to take a look at this. Well, as I'm walking out, I'm taking a look at this stream. You can see that or not. So there must have been a bridge. A wooden bridge or a rail bridge or something. There's some pieces down in there. That must have been how they got across. When you look at all that woods, there's no way they would just let that go. Those trees all look cut out. Not cut out, but look all new as well. Yeah, here's another look at it from downstream. They definitely have a bridge over there. Need that shell. You know, even if you don't get out to look at these furnaces, it's just nice to get out into the country, get out and look around, explore some stuff. Plenty of things to see. I guess other things that you don't even see as you're walking past it. I guess this is an apple tree. You figure, how could an apple tree? I've found a couple of these so far. Actually, it might have been a cherry tree, because I saw a cherry right beneath it. So apple tree, cherry tree. Then you got to figure that's what these guys ate for lunch. They'd have an apple. When you're done with their apple, you throw it. So you see these trees pop up all over the place. Nope, it's cherries. You can see the cherries still on the tree. So again, there you can see.